Right, today's video is just a bit of an update about some of the technology I've been covering in videos. A bit of an update on this laptop. So we'll be doing the fan modification I talked about in the Sony Vaio review. Also, I'll be talking about some kind of weird glitches that I think are just driver issues for the time being with this laptop. And also to talk about a little bit of an update on my movie editing setup right now. As you can see behind me, I'm actually using the same software I was on my laptop on my big rig, but we'll go into more detail on that in a little bit of time. So, without further ado, the three things that are going to be covered today are the fan modification for the laptop, the weird issue I found with the laptop, which I'll just go into explaining a bit, and number three is what my video editing setup is now. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, first part of this video is the modding this laptop, or modifying this laptop to help it to breathe, or help the fan to actually suck in air so it can actually cool itself. So, when I did the overview, review and teardown on this laptop, which will be linked in the description below, I noted that there is a fan right here. There's vents around it, but because this case is literally smooshed right up against the fan can't physically breathe. So there's no point having these vents here. So today's modification, we'll be putting our spacers in there to space this case just off the fan so it can actually breathe. Now, this makes a huge difference to temperatures. I've noticed about a 15 degree under heavy load temperature difference. So 15 degrees C lower. So 15 degrees C lower temperatures, which is very good. But we'll go into more when we talk about after the modification. So, for this laptop, you only need three tools to complete this mod. A screwdriver, which fits these screws, a knife to cut your tape with. I use an X-Acto blade, but whatever works for you. And then, of course, tape. Now, this is fairly thick tape. I don't know if I can get a view of this. Ooh, come on, be nice. There we go. So this is fairly thick tape. So it's about, I think, 0.2 or 0.3 mil thick. So millimeters thick, which is what you're going to need to do this mod. So you need some fairly thick tape you're layering up in multiple layers to create pretty much a pedestal. You can use duct tape if you want, but I prefer to use the electrical tape because A, I know it's electrically isolated, I know it doesn't have a capacitive effect, I know it's not going to screw up anything else inside the case. Plus it's the right sort of width as well. So enough about that. I'm going to tear this laptop down and I'm going to show you what you need to do to the fan. So I won't bore you with the teardown because I have already got a video of that. Okay, one other quick thing to note is this modification is not just limited to this laptop. You could do it to any laptop, a MacBook Pro for example, or another laptop that has a similar sort of arrangement. A blower type fan, some vents nearby. I did say MacBook Pro because the MacBook Pro technically does suck air through the keyboard. So you can do it to that. You can do it to a MacBook Air if you want. Any laptop that has a fairly restricted fan profile or air profile for the fan. So that's something quick to note. So now we'll tear it down. Fine. So I've done the teardown as we looked at before. This is the fan we're talking about. This is the main fan, the only fan in this computer. So this is the heatsink here, and as we were looking at before, you can actually see this is where one vent sits, and the other vent just probably starts about here. So yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to put tape around this rim, particularly up here on this bit here, and probably a bit here as well, just to space that off even more. This base plate here, this case here, does have quite a bit of flex to it, which means you can space it quite a far bit off. Doesn't matter. So what we're pretty much going to be making are little standoffs out of tape, which is pretty easy to do. So all we want to do is we just want to grab some tape and measure up the rough size of the base you want to make. In this case you probably don't want it any wider than about there, to make sure you don't interfere with the fan's operations. Once you sort of know your width, start cutting with your blade. Now once you've cut your first piece, just make sure, just sort of sit it on top to make sure it's not going to interfere with anything, it's of the right size, all that sort of stuff. So next is we use this as a master template. So what I'm going to do is we're going to roll around to an empty section of the bench. I'm going to show you how to make these. If this camera's going to like me. There we go. So we just use this as a master template. So pretty much you stick it to the edge of the bench, like so, and then you line up the tape, like so, and cut. And you keep doing this until you've got about 5 or 6 pieces. I need to replace this blade. So you just keep using it as a template. Doopy-doopy-doo. I may fast forward that. So now we've got a few bits of tape here. All we do is we take the tape and stack it. It's as easy as it is. And now I have one spacer. You can see, I don't know if this is definitely not going to focus on this. I said here. There we go. So as you can see, it's fairly thick now. And that little bit of thickness, doubled with the thickness of the piece that's already on the fan, it actually does help amazingly. So what we'll do is we'll go back to our fan and slap that on there. Now you can go pretty thick with this laptop, as I said, because of the case is quite flexible. So yay. But yeah, you probably want to make one there. Don't put anything over the fan hub, because if you put pressure on the fan hub, the blades may grip. They may grip inside the housing here. So just be warned of that. And do the show trick of, yes, I've made a couple more, just to space out as much as possible. It also does make the one side thing to note is that it actually makes the laptop quieter, because you don't have that pressure, that high pressure that's trying to suck in, so the fan doesn't sound wheezily and all. It's something to think about. There we go. So that's that spaced off. So that's the mod done. So now I'm going to talk to you guys about some issues and other questions I've had with this laptop. One question I got asked, I'm sorry I don't remember people's usernames, but somebody asked me about the hard drive. This in here is actually a 7mm drive, but as you can see, there's a fair old chunk of slack on both of these cables, which means you, in theory, could put a 9.5mm drive. I think the question was actually referencing a Western Digital Black 2 drive. You could, if you want to be careful with these cables, but in theory, yes, you could put a Western Digital Black Square drive in this, which would solve the hideously slow mechanical drive of this for your OS, and also give you still that terabyte of storage on this thing. So, very good option if you want to do that. Other questions I've been asked is about the memory from other people. I'll just do this. The other memory stick is actually under this here. These are DDR3L RAM, which means yes, you can put DDR3 in these slots, not a problem. But these are DDR3L compatible. What's actually in here is DDR3L, 2 4GB sticks running at it's effectively running at like 1080, which is so slow it's not funny. But that's just the way they've set it up, so that's fine. So yes, the memory is just here, as you can see. The monitor is fairly replaceable. Wi-Fi card is just here. Again, this is something I strongly recommend people replacing. Strongly recommend people replace this if they're looking at getting AC Wi-Fi. Like, let's say you've got an AC Wi-Fi router and you want to get that AC performance. This is only N. This only goes up to 300 megabytes per second, so the wireless N. But but as you notice, the form factor is quite limited. So if you want to get an AC chip, make sure it's in this size of form factor. Which the form factor size is so it's a standard width. Where are we? It's a standard 28. Oh, it's about 28 mil, or for those in imperial, just over an inch. In that way, and then this way. Just make sure it's no longer than about 25 mil, so just over an inch again. So it's pretty much an inch by an inch, or about 25 by 25 mil. As I was saying, camera cut. That's all good. So yeah, that's the little card that a lot of people have been asking about. So onto this. I'm now going to talk about some of the issues I've had with this laptop. So I'll put it back together. We'll go back to talk view, and we'll talk about some of the issues of this laptop that I've had. And I'm pretty sure they're all software issues. So enough about me yabbering. Let's go back to the bench. So this part of the video is about some of the issues I've had with this laptop so far. So I love the form factor. I love a lot of stuff about it. But one of the really weird issues I've had with this laptop is occasionally the touchscreen decides to completely just turn off. I'm presuming it's a driver issue. It seemed to happen a lot with Adobe PDF reader, like the Adobe reader. An occasional web browsing, I will just go, yep, nope, no more touch interface. To remedy this, you just turn it, you just put it into sleep and then reboot it. Or put it into sleep, take it out of sleep, it's fine again. This is a really quirky little thing with this laptop. So, if Tony does watch this video, can you guys fix that? Because that's really annoying, especially like halfway through reading lecture notes, or in the middle of like a university lecture, and this touchscreen goes dead whilst you're trying to take notes. It's really annoying. That's about the only real issue I've had with this laptop, is just the touchscreen randomly dying on me. The other thing I've kind of noticed is that the Wi-Fi reception on this laptop, like physical range, isn't that great. When you compare it to something like my HTC One phone, my like year-and-a-half old phone, where is it? It's just here, always within arm reach. This has better range than this laptop, but you'd think the other way around. This seems to have a much weaker antenna reception. I don't know if that's because of the chipset they're using. They're using an Intel NIC as opposed to the Broadcom, possibly. I think it's Broadcom or Marvell controller that this phone is using. Sorry about that. But as I was saying, this phone is older, yet it has a better Wi-Fi range. So it's just another little quirk I've found with this laptop. Yeah. But other than that, loving the laptop. So next thing we'll move on to is video setup. So yeah. Okay, so video setup time. As I explained in the video, in the help video, was using this to edit all my video, and it was taking forever. I had a rough ratio of rendering time to content time of about 6:1, which means that was after I optimized this. So I turned up the amount of RAM it could use. I turned on GPU acceleration. I ran the program using the NVIDIA GeForce GT 735M that's in this thing to do all that rendering, and I still was only achieving about a 6:1 ratio, which means 6 minutes of rendering for every 1 minute of content. What I did was I took C drive program files, Sony the Movie Studio Platinum 12, straight from this onto a memory stick, threw it over onto this computer, put it in exactly the same folder, i.e. C drive program files, Sony Movie Studio Platinum 12, and it ran. The only thing I needed was a serial number, so I used the same serial number on this that I had on this laptop and put it through this one. Worked beautifully. Not a problem. I just registered it as a second computer. So cool. So I just have two devices under the same serial number, under the same name, under the same registration. So kudos to Sony for actually allowing this, because sometimes when you do this, it goes, yeah, no, you need a whole new license file, because it's a new installation. So kudos to Sony for actually thinking about that. So now I have it up on this computer. So we're going to take you in, do some very crude capture to show you how I now have it set up across 2 monitors, mind you. So I'll shut up, I'll move the camera, and we can have a look at how I now do video editing. Okay, this is my setup now, as of today, effectively, for my new video editing system. So instead of doing it on one monitor and having all of this on one very small monitor, I now have just my timeline at the bottom. I have the preview window and trimmer, so that's just to trim me turning on and off the camera in the sit down talk view and stuff like that. Then on the other monitor I just have the Explorer window, the project media, and like video effects stuff and all that on that monitor, which is very handy to have. So that's the way I've got it set up now. Now this is really easy to set up onto this computer. Yeah, and now I've optimized it out for this. When I had it unoptimized, it was the same settings as what was running on the laptop. I was getting about a ratio of about 4 to 1, so 4 minutes of rendering to about 1 minute of content, which is pretty respectable. Once I optimized it, which means I went to options and preferences, and we'll zoom in on that so you guys can see. If this is ever gonna focus, it's the most dodgiest screen capture ever. So I know there's a better way of screen capturing. Link it in the comments below. So you go into here, you hit video, and this was only set at like 4 gig. So I made it my full 16, which helps big time. The other thing that I changed was this was only set to 3 on the other laptop. So I set that to 4 on the other laptop, and that helped a little bit. That got me to that 6 ratio. This is set to the full 8. So yay! And you turn on the GPU acceleration and all this stuff to make sure everything's good and hunky-dory. But no. So now I'm achieving about a 1 to 1.25, or 1.25 to 1 ratio, which means for every 1 minute of content, I only have to render 1.25 minutes. So what that means is for a 45-minute video, it's only an hour's worth of rendering. So for an hour's video, it's like an hour and 15 to render it, which is awesome. Way better than 6 hours, say, for 1 hour video to render. So that's the end of today's video. So yay. Again, all the content in it, all the devices and stuff you see in this video, and there's a laptop down there, have been shown in the room tour, as you've seen before. So I'll link the room tour in below as well. So as always, thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe.